Hello everyone, welcome back to Web Knowledge. Today I have YesStar PBX setup and I'm going to show you how to set up YesStar IP PBX. So as you can see in the diagram, the YesStar PBX has default IP address 192.168.5.150 and to configure it we have to connect the laptop directly and assign an IP address in the same range of the PBX. So I'm going to configure IP address in my system. So I'm going to the network setting of my system and setting the LAN IP address statically in the same range of YesStar PBX. So I set the IP address in the same range as 5.100 and clicking on OK. Now I'm going to ping the device IP address YesStar PBX. So now you can see the PBX ping is coming here, and now we can log in the device in the browser. So I'm going to type the IP address. So once you click on the enter, and it will redirect it to the HTTPS, and the port will be used as 8088 for the web access. Now click on advanced option and accept the rest and continue. Now you are able to get the login page of the PBX. So we are going to enter the details. So the default username is admin and the password is password. So I'm entering the same details. So after logging the first time PBX, you will get a configuration wizard page, and if you are newer to the device, you need to follow the steps for the wizard. So okay, let's get started. And if you are familiar with the device, you can skip this option. So I'm going with the setup wizard so that you can learn how to configure the device via step wizard. So in the first option, we have to select time zone. So you need to select your time zone, and I'm selecting here my time zone. Now click on the next, and on this page you have to enter the new password. So I'm first entering the default password and entering the new password. And enter the email address of administrator. I'm entering the email address here and clicking on the next. Now on the third page we have to enter the network setting. So the PBX has single mode, dual mode and bridge mode. In single mode only LAN port works. WAN port is by default disabled. If you have SIP trunk, you can configure it into the dual mode and configure LAN with the local network and WAN for the SIP trunk. So we have WAN configuration option here and LAN configuration option, and as well it gives you VLAN option. So you can create a sub interface with the VLAN ID. So I'm going with the third option now. So in the bridge mode, the PBX, both the port LAN and WAN act as a switch. So you can connect the cable on either port and connect to the network. And the second port, you can connect any device for the connection. So I'm going with the single mode and clicking on next. Currently it is testing the network connection. Since I haven't given internet on the system or the device, so it will give you the connection error. So the internet connection is showing error and the SMTP server connection is showing error. So temporarily we are ignoring this issue. Now in the fourth step, so now on the fourth step, it will give you by default extension range created automatically. So the next option is disable. We have to edit one extension and set either username or at least one email address. So I'm entering the mail ID for this extension. So now we have the option to click on the next. So now on the next step, it is giving configure linkers option. So we are not doing anything here and just click on the next option. Now on the next option, we have configure trunk option. If you have any SIP trunk or any service provider trunk, you can configure here or you can leave it. Now clicking on the next, and on the next it will give you a summary of the configuration we have earlier did. So now I'm clicking on next. So now the configuration is done, and as well it will give you a Linkes Cloud Pro service subscription for 30 days trial period. So I'm not enabling it, I'm just skipping it and clicking on the apply option. So now we have configuration wizard option here, settings option, CDR and recording option, maintenance option, linkage option, and as well few more options. So we have settings, CDR and recording, PBX monitor, resource monitor, app center, maintenance, configuration wizard, auto provisioning, and linkers. So now I'm going with the settings option, and on extension page. So now you can see the extension are already created here. Okay, but if you want to change these extension to other range, we have to first set the extension permission extension range from the general setting. So in the general page, extension preferences, you can change the extension range. So like it is started with 1000 and 5999, so I'm changing it to 100 to 200 and leaving other setting as default, and now saving it. So we have changed the range from 100 to 200, and as well we have to change the security option. So we are going into the security option, service option, and by default web access control is available for local network only with the default IP address. And if you will change the IP address range, so by default it is, you can see here, so this range is allowed in the network segment with the local network setting only. I'll speech out local network only the IP address of the same network segment of the PBX can access the PBX web. The allowed network segment include 10.0.0. series, 172.16.0.0 series, 192.168.0.0 series, 169.254.0.0 series, and the permitted IP second option, only allowed IP address can access the PBX web, and no limitation option, all IP address can access the PBX web. So we have here three options: local network only, permitted IP, and no limitations. So we have to set it to no limitations so that we can set the IP address of the PBX in any range. Now we have to enable allow weak password so that we can set a simple password for the extension as well. Otherwise it will take a more complex password. Now you can see the Linkus port and IX port for registration, and as well it supports DHCP server. So if we enable it, the PBX will give you DHCP IP addresses from the LAN port. So we are not enabling it, we are just keeping it disabled and saving. So now I'm changing the default extension and deleting this. So I have deleted the default created extensions. Now we can add a single extension by clicking on add option. So we have to wait for some time because it takes some time in responding. So we can use extension as a SIP, IX or FXS. We are using only SIP. So the default extension is starting from 100 now, and caller ID name, caller ID number, we are leaving it default, and the registration number as default 100, and we can change the concurrent registration, so it supports up to 5 maximum concurrent registration for extension. and in the registration password, minimum of 8 digit character is required by the PBX. So I set this password, and on the same user password, set it the same password for user password. Basically, user password is for Linkus extension or login the PBX with extension, so the extension can see their CDR, recordings, and other data. Now I'm saving it. So by adding option, we can create a single extension. Now I'll show you how to add multiple extensions. Click on bulk add option so that you can create multiple extension at once. Now as we have already used 100 number extension, so now the start extension is 101, and we can set how much extension we need to create at once. So I'm leaving it default as 5 numbers, and the registration password we have 3 options: random, fixed, and prefix plus extension. So in this option we can set a prefix plus extension number to register. So like we can set a pass prefix and we'll use extension 101, so it will be used for SIP registration, and similar way user password for login the PBX or Linkus registration. And on the other pages we have presence option. So in this option we can set the call forwarding for always, for no answer calls when busy, in the busy condition, and we can set the ring strategy. So ring first can set on extension or Linkus mobile client or Linkus desktop client. Similarly, we can set the ring second priority on extension Linkus or Linkus desktop option. Now in the third option we have voicemail option. We can enable it or we can disable it. We can set the password or we can skip the password option as well, and we can send the voicemail to email with the attachment as well. The other option is monitor setting. So we can monitor, listen, whisper or barge any extension, and we can set the privilege for the extension who can monitor. Allowing monitor means it can be monitored by other extensions, and monitor mode that means it can monitor other extensions. It can listen, whisper, barge, or extensive means everything it can be allowed to this extension. And the ring timeout is by default set to 30 seconds. Now on the advanced page we have option for register remotely. So we can register this extension remotely by enabling this option. If this is disabled, we cannot register remotely extensions. And the registration transport is UDP. Now we can also set IP restriction. So we can set IP whitelist only. So only extension which we have given the IP whitelist permission can be registered from the selected IP address. And in call permission, we can set outbound routes for calling. So now I'm saving it. It is giving error because we have enabled IP restriction, but we have not set the IP address. I'm just disabling it and saving. The length of the registration password should be at least 5 digits. So we have to change the password length. So instead of using prefix plus extension, either we have to increase this length or we can set a fixed password. So I'm just setting a fixed password as we have set for a single extension. Similarly, I'm using the same password for login or Linkus registration. Save it. So save it, and now you can see the five extensions are created. So this PBX as well support OpenVPN. So you can upload the OpenVPN file package or you can configure manually by uploading CA certificate, and client key. And it supports tap mode and turn mode for the VPN configuration. It has a by default firewall rules which is very strong, and if there are multiple IP registration requests on the PBX IP address, it will block automatically, and we can check that in the IP auto defense blocked IP addresses. So the defense rules are like the 5060 port UDP six in one six in 60 seconds. If 120 connections are received, it will block. That means 120 connections are permitted in 60 seconds. On 5060 UDP, 40 connections are available in 2 seconds, and similarly 8022 TCP port 10 connections in 60 seconds are permitted. Otherwise, the IP address will be blocked. This PBX also supports auto recording of the call, so we can set the recording for internal call record, outbound call record, inbound call being record, and as well we can select the trunk wise recording, we can select the extension wise recording, we can select the recording for conference rooms as well, and the call features the PBX supported are IVR with up to 5 levels of IVR, ring group, multiple extension ringing, call queue, a small level of ACD, automatic call distribution, conference, it supports audio conference room, pickup group, we can pick up the call for any other extension, as well it supports paging and intercom, so we can announce on a particular set of extensions or we can play the message. Similarly, it supports these are block list and allow list. We can block list some numbers and allow. We can set the pin for outbound calls. We can create speed dial numbers with the prefix *99 by default. We can have SMS to email and email to SMS option in the PBX as well. So now I'll show you other options. CDR recording, we can see the calls history here, and we can filter by date wise or call from, caller wise, and callee on which extension the call made or external number, or we can set by call duration, talk duration, or by the call status like answered, no answer, busy, failed, and voicemail call. We can as well include recording or without including recording calls, and we have advanced option as well here. So the call can be filtered by the trunk, by communication type like inbound, outbound, internal, multi-site connect, callback, transfer, or what. warning. We can download the CDR, we can download the recordings, we can download C or we can delete the CDR. Now going on the next option, PBX monitor. So in this option we can see the extension registration status. If it is gray color, that means the extension is not registered, unavailable. If it is green color, that means the extension is registered. And if it is showing ringing, that means the call is coming. Or it is showing red color, that means the extension is busy on some call. Similarly, similarly we have trunk status. So we can monitor the trunk status. Now we have concurrent call status, so we can see the concurrent calls at a time. And similarly we have conference status option, so we can see the active concurrent conference and in conference members. Now in the resource monitor option, we have network information, we have CPU users and the performance, so we can check the CPU utilization, we can check the memory utilization, and we can check the LAN traffic. So you can see the traffic. Currently it has LAN port enabled in the single mode, so we are only able to see the LAN traffic, send and receive data. And as well we have storage usage option, so we can check the storage consumed by the CDR or recording or any configuration part. So currently only 4% of the total space is utilized here. So the total space available in this model is 3 GB and utilized is 0.12 GB and available is 2.90 GB. Now in App Center option, we have by default PBX Center, we have auto provisioning, we have Linkus option. Now in maintenance option, we can upgrade manually by downloading the firmware from the Yestra website, or we can check the firmware from the internet resources, or we can schedule the firmware automatically from the internet. This has backup downloading, uploading, and scheduling the backup on date wise or day wise. It has manual rebooting option and enable auto reboot. So you can set a schedule, it will restart automatically. Now we can reset configuration all, or we can set by particular mode, and we can check the logs of the PBX by information, notice, warning, error, DTMF, time log, and debug. And in operation log, we can check the configuration done or any operation happen by users. And in troubleshooting option, you can take the packet captures from LAN or WAN. You can port monitor tool, so you can check the port as well. You can ping the IP address, you can trace route. And it has auto provisioning for few models of some vendors like Yelling, Star, Hiptel, Estec, Fanwell, Flying Voice, Grandstream, Snom, Gigaset, Polycom, Cisco, Alcatel, VTech, Equivox, Panasonic, Mitel, Essence, Motorola. So we can provision these phones from the PBX itself and no need to log in the phones. So only few models are available for auto provisioning of all vendors. Not all models are supported here. And the last option is Linkus. So Linkus is a desktop and mobile application for soft phone client. So we can enable Linkus and the user can use to register and can make receive call from the desktop or mobile. That's it for this video, and I'll show you in the next video for Linkus registration and calling process. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe the channel.